Main event, Jey Uso can't seem to escape the Bloodline. After 14 years with the WWE, he's become one half of the greatest tag team of all time. While the Usos thrived as heels in the Bloodline, WWE saw potential in Jey as a solo star and gave him a singles run. But despite becoming one of the most over stars in the WWE, he's been treated like a mid-carder, failing to capitalize on his popularity. Since joining Raw, he's faced his brother at WrestleMania, lost big championship matches and struggled for direction. Although he's had recent wins against Chad Gable and Dominic Mysterio, he remains directionless. With Bron Breakker and Gunther occupying the Intercontinental and World Heavyweight Championship scene, Jey's path forward is unclear. WWE might eventually reunite him with Jimmy, but this feels like a waste of his solo potential. With that being said, let's take a look at his singles career thus far, discuss what's holding him back, and finally explore the real reason why Jey Uso can't succeed without the Bloodline. Jey's run as a singles competitor started with a bang at SummerSlam, where Jey faced Roman Reigns in the biggest match of his career, an anything goes match called Tribal Combat. The stakes were sky high and Jey took Roman to the limit. Just when it looked like Jey might pull off a big win, Jimmy Uso shocked everyone by pulling him out of the ring, just as he was about to pin Reigns. This betrayal set Jey up for a massive spear from Roman, and the rest was history. Jimmy had some serious explaining to do, claiming he feared that becoming the tribal chief would corrupt Jey. In response, Jey superkicked Reigns, Sikoa and Jimmy, and then dramatically announced he was quitting WWE. But we all know how these things go. Jey wasn't gone for long. He made his return at Payback, where Cody Rhodes announced that Jey would be switching from SmackDown to Raw. This move brought new challenges and opportunities for Jey. He received an offer to join the Judgment Day but turned it down, leading to a series of intense matches and a short tag team partnership with Cody Rhodes. Together they won the undisputed WWE Tag Team titles, marking a historic moment as Jey became the first person to hold the titles twice, and it was his first WWE Tag Team Championship without his brother. Their reign was short but sweet. They defended the titles against tough opponents like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and more weaker opponents like Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, but lost them back to Balor and Priest in a rematch on Raw just 9 days later, thanks to an interference by Jimmy. This made Jey the record holder for the most cumulative days as SmackDown Tag Team Champion at 1,011 days. This separated him from Jimmy and showed that WWE had belief as him as a big star. Jey and Rhodes tried to regain the titles but were stopped by Drew McIntyre, who joined forces with the Judgment Day. He had his eye on Jey ever since he stepped foot on Raw. He centered his gimmick around getting screwed by the Bloodline at Clash at the Castle, and it just shows how the Bloodline has changed the landscape of the WWE completely. At Survivor Series War Games, Jey alongside Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins and Randy Orton defeated McIntyre and the Judgment Day in a War Games match. He was starting to become one of the biggest babyfaces in the company, standing alongside some of the biggest names in the business, and managing to shine showed massive potential for his solo run. His momentum continued at the Royal Rumble, where he entered at number 1 and lasted an impressive 50 minutes before being eliminated by Gunther. During the Rumble match, he was confronted by Jimmy, with the brothers squaring off in the middle of the ring. This moment was supposed to be the highlight of his career, but instead it became his worst nightmare. They planted the seeds for their WrestleMania match, which was below average to say the least. Beating Jimmy was supposed to be his way of breaking away from the Bloodline and continuing his run as a singles competitor. No matter which way you look at it, you can't help but think he can't ever separate himself from the faction. This became more apparent the next night when Jey interfered in the main event, attacking Jimmy and spearing him through a table. Fresh off his big win, he tried to build a name for himself by winning a fatal 4-way match to become the #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship at Backlash against Damian Damian Priest. He tried his very best and his star power was there for all to see, with the response he got from the sea of humanity in attendance cheering him on. It was a pretty impressive display, but he failed to win the title due to interference from McDonough and Balor. He had to shake off the cobwebs because he was thrown a bone. By replacing Drew McIntyre in the King of the Ring tournament, he took on Finn Balor and Ilya Dragunov, securing the win to progress to the semi-finals against Gunther. During the match, they threw everything they had at each other, with Gunther delivering brutal chops and slams, targeting Jey's arm throughout the match. In the closing moments, Jey hit Gunther with a spear and a Uso splash, but the slow referee count prevented him from securing the win. He was then trapped in a sleeper hold, forcing him to pass out and allowing Gunther to advance to the finals. It seemed like he was just elevating other talent, and making him pass out did nothing to develop his character. In fact, it just weakened him. He also qualified for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, and it seemed like he might actually pull it off. Yeet in the Bank was at the edge of everyone's mouth. Despite an impressive display, he couldn't get his hands on the briefcase, and it was a massive waste because the briefcase was used as a prop to build up the CM Punk feud. I've said on multiple occasions that Triple H doesn't miss, but on this occasion he missed hard. I get it from the context of the feud, but in the overall picture of WWE, the briefcase adds a layer of suspense and gives superstars the chance to take their careers to the next level. A perfect example of this is Jey Uso, but considering he's going to be placed back into the bloodline with Roman, it doesn't seem like we'll see him win anything big in the near distant future. With all that being said, I think it's time we look at why Jey Uso can't succeed without the bloodline. Jey's time with the bloodline was transformative. The heel turn and alliance with Roman Reigns brought a new ruthless side of the Usos that fans hadn't seen before. The chemistry and storyline depth within the bloodline was electric, making Jey a standout character. WWE saw his potential and decided to give him a singles run, hoping to capitalize on his newfound popularity. Initially, this seemed like a brilliant move. Jey quickly became one of the most over stars in WWE. His crowd entrances were electrifying, rivaling the Yes movement of Daniel Bryan in his prime, and drawing inspiration from Bray Wyatt by bringing back the buzzards when his entrance hits. But here's where things start to unravel. Despite his popularity, Jey hasn't been able to maintain that momentum in the ring or on the microphone. His performances, while heartfelt, often lack the punch needed to stand toe-to-toe with top-tier trash talkers like CM Punk or Drew McIntyre. A significant issue is that Jey's matches tend to follow a predictable pattern. He's known for his superkick heavy style, which while exciting at times can be quite repetitive. This was glaringly obvious during his WrestleMania 40 match against Jimmy. It was a battle of the superkicks. The build-up was there, but the execution fell flat, leaving fans disappointed, and it's not entirely Jey's fault. It does highlight his limitations though as a singles performer. Overexposure is another problem. While Jey is constantly featured in main events, the substance isn't always there. He's been in high-profile matches such as challenging Damian Priest for the title at Backlash, but these opportunities often feel like they were designed to elevate his opponents rather than himself. It's a classic case of WWE using a popular star to boost others, which can be quite detrimental in the long run. Jey's character work outside the bloodline also leaves much to be desired. He's charismatic and engages well with the crowd, but his promos often lack the depth and intensity that made his bloodline segment so compelling. This disconnect has prevented him from fully breaking out as a top solo star. Then there's the issue of direction, or rather the lack of it. Since moving to Raw, Jey has floated aimlessly. His feud with Jimmy culminated at WrestleMania 40, but after the rivalry there was no clear path forward. He has some wins against the likes of Chad Gable and Dominic Mysterio, but these matches haven't propelled him into a meaningful storyline or title contention, and they've used him as a prop for the Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan feud, with interactions with Rhea Ripley undermining his credibility. These segments might be entertaining, but they don't align with the main event persona WWE tried to build. Rikishi, Jey's father, has expressed his frustration with his direction, highlighting the missed opportunities to crown Jey as a legitimate singles champion. One major issue is Jey's character development. As part of the bloodline, his character was well defined. He had motivations, conflicts, and a clear storyline. Outside of that, he seems to lack any direction. direction. WWE needs to invest in developing his character further, giving him a storyline that allows him to shine. It's not just about winning matches, it's about having a compelling narrative that fans can get behind. Right now, they seem fixated on generating the loudest pop and getting everyone in the arena to scream "Yeet." And don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Jey one bit. I actually really like him and want him to succeed. I've called for him to have a singles run for quite some time, and I'm really struggling to see why they've made such poor booking decisions. Just like WWE didn't give anything to him until he finished the Jey Uso feud, I don't think they're gonna give him a singles championship until the new Bloodline saga is over, and this is exactly why he can't succeed without the Bloodline. Let's be honest, Roman's coming back, and Jey is going to reunite with the old gang once again. It seems like a step back, but from a booking standpoint, it's best for business. If he took a singles championship, it won't do anything for the remaining superstars on the roster who are not in that equation. Plus, the Bloodline Civil War doesn't need a championship to give it relevancy. So where does that leave Jey Uso? The most logical move might be a reunion with Jimmy and renewed focus on the Bloodline story. While it might seem like a step back, it will provide stability and a narrative depth that Jey needs. It's a safer bet than continuing to flounder in the mid-card without any direction. To sum it up, Jey Uso's struggles highlight the complexities of WWE's booking and character development. He has all the tools to be a top star, but without the right storyline and a consistent push, he's left in limbo. Rejoining the Bloodline might be the dream scenario for his solo career, but it could also be the best way to keep him relevant and capitalize on his undeniable popularity. The question on everybody's mind, can Jey Uso succeed without the Bloodline? I think it's definitely possible, but it's going to need some serious effort from WWE's creative team. They need to give Jey the storylines and character development that he deserves. He's got the talent and the charisma, and he just needs the right storyline to showcase it. But I don't see this happening until the new Bloodline story is over. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Does Jey have what it takes to make it on his own, or is he destined to always be in the shadow of the Bloodline? Let's discuss in the comments. And while you're here, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to stay tuned for more wrestling content right here on WrestlingReel.